Hey, Dean.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
Good. I'm trying to like set a background. How do you do that?
Um, let's see. I got to stop and remember. I believe.
I can tell you if you want.
Yeah. Yes, please do so. Thanks, Sue.
You have to go into Zoom, like the
You're
actual
in Zoom.
website.
No, you're good. Just go to start video with that little arrow. And then it says
video
select
button?
background.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and then choose virtual background. And then if there's not one you want, just go to that little X and just upload a picture. I mean, the little plus there.
Well, I was on like the regular Zoom and they had NDSU ones in there, and now they're not showing up.
No, well, you have to upload those yourself.
Okay, well, I'll try this one.
Yeah, if you just go to
Do you have to download it?
Yes.
yeah, upload them to your computer as pictures or whatever, or put them in your. Hey, look at you!
There you go. A little San Francisco.
I'm at a
If
friend's
you're
house.
going to San Francisco.
Okay, I'm gonna try and I don't like how it's like. Ooh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I have a lot of trouble with my background lately. I'm frustrated. I think you have to have a green screen.
Maybe I may just take it away.
You know what?
All of the
What?
backgrounds create, kind of that delay, and it kind of comes and goes to a degree, but the more plain the better, I think. But I still
like yours, Dean.
I still like it too.
Is that a preloaded one?
Yeah, I can't remember where I found it, but
Oh, here, I'll try
It's
that.
on there.
is that where I got it?
Yep,
Mhm.
I'll try that.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, now we
I
look
like that better, even
now
though
we
it's
look like we're in the
so-
same place. Anyway.
Lindsay, you look like you're just landed on some psychic trip.
Do you think I should just go back to the normal background, or is this okay?
You're good. It's
Okay.
fine.
I'm gonna be sharing my screen anyways, so.
Mhm.
See, that's what I wanted.
Well, I got to figure out what that.
Okay, so yeah, in the waiting room. I know Mickey stepped away for a minute, so is she on?
Are you in the office, Dean?
Yes, I am.
It's been
Been here all day because of meetings this morning and stuff that I kind of thought I wanted to be here for.
Mhm.
So, Dean, are you hosting tonight since Rochelle's gone?
Well, yeah, or Sue and I are together. But I'm gonna lead off, and Sue's gonna cover me for everything I miss.
So, and Adrian is the other presenter, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And then Diane before either of you start.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I try and share my breakout room quick?
Yep.
Okay.
So you're doing breakout rooms tonight?
Yeah, Mickey said that she would break everyone into the breakout rooms. Can you see this?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. I was on a meeting today, and they said that Zoom comes out with updates almost weekly. So my guess is that back when we were doing that, we couldn't add the breakout rooms because I didn't think it was an option.
Well, yeah, and now I have it as an option.
Yeah.
Well, wait. Maybe I don't have it right now.
Well, you probably aren't a host
this afternoon to like test it, and I had it, but now I don't.
Well, did you go into the more button?
More.
At the bottom with the 3 dots?
I don't have that.
You have to have more, or else, don't you? Or your screens, are you doing it on full screen?
Hold on. More.
So Mickey, do you
I
need
don't
to
have
make?
it.
Let's see. Can there only be one host? Is that?
There's only one main host at a time, but all of you are assigned as co-hosts, so you should be able to do.
Okay, because I didn't know if you needed this like switch so that Adrian and Sue and Diane would each be okay.
No, they should.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Sue.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I'm going to say welcome, Colleen.
No.
I see you're on, so we're glad to have you here tonight. We're just kind of getting organized, so that's why we're kind of going back and forth. But we're glad you joined us.
I hit admit when I came in by mistake, so sorry, Colleen. I had you join us super early. That was my fault. Everyone else is still waiting.
Where are these 3 dots? Because like I said, logged in this afternoon and I had the breakout room option and now I do not. Not that I need it, I'm just wondering.
So
What's it
only
say
the
at the
main
bottom?
host will have the breakout room option.
Oh, so
you don't
okay.
have a
So
breakout room option right now.
You're gonna do the breakout rooms for me, correct?
Just say like, okay, we're gonna do breakout rooms now. Let me know how many you want in a room and I'll hit random breakout. So it'll just scatter them and then bring them back.
Okay.
Mickey, since you'll be controlling the presentations, right?
Mhm. Well, just Diane's. I don't have yours or Lindsay's. Not yours, Adrian's or Lindsay's. As co-hosts, they can share screen and start and stop their presentations whenever they need to.
So should you be the main host right now? Probably, since you're going to be the one that'll actually be sharing. I don't have any slides.
It doesn't matter.
I'll do my own PowerPoint, Mickey. Well, obviously.
Yeah, last week I stayed the main host the whole time and it didn't interrupt anybody's presentations or anything, because pretty much the only thing I can do that you guys can't right now is activate breakout rooms and shut the meeting down. Otherwise, we have all the same capabilities.
So you have the breakout rooms now, Mickey?
Let's see. Oh, geez, why don't I have breakout rooms?
Because you're a co-host. So why don't you make yourself host and I'll be a co-host?
You have to give it to me.
Oh, I have to give it to you. How do I get to be it?
I think because you logged in first.
Oh, are you serious?
Probably, yeah, because I put all of us down as alternate hosts.
Okay.
So whoever came on first got to be main host. So just hover over my name, and then there's a little button, one says mute and one says more. If you click more, you can make me the host.
I am doing that.
There we go.
Okay, so Mickey, do you have Rochelle's PowerPoint?
I do not.
Where's that? Because I think we need that.
Is she doing one tonight? Because I thought Diane was doing hers tonight. That's who sent me their PowerPoint.
Rochelle's got the beginning, doesn't she?
Just those beginning slides and the end.
Let me look. So you guys know what you're going to say along to her slides then?
Yeah, sure. Dean, you got it down, right? I'm just here to like support Dean. Like, yay, Dean, go Dean.
Yeah, basically I'm just going to be introducing people, and towards the end there's the 4-H Easy online training stuff. So
okay, I've got her slides. I've got a lot of stuff queued up on my computer right now. I hope I clicked the right stuff. Okay.
Do you want to put them up just once real quick, share them just so that we know what to be expecting?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it into, oh gosh. Start from beginning. Crap, see, and it puts it on my other screen. I don't want that.
Just go share that one screen when you go to select share screen. Just do that one thing that has just that on it.
Got it. Okay. All right. So that is this guy. You guys see it?
Coming.
Okay, yeah, so we got the map. Yeah, because we started with that, with allowing them to annotate. So, okay.
And her instructions were to do the first 3 slides to start the whole thing and the last 2 slides to end it.
Okay, so
why
don't
I got her slides saved.
So this is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One. Let's see.
Why don't you go ahead and just go through those ones real quick before we put everybody in here, and then we can come back to this. 2, 3. And when I get to the 3rd slide, she wants me to drop in the evaluation link and the training link. And then I would into the chat box.
Yep, into the chat box. So I've got that queued up and ready. And then we would close this out. I don't have the agenda up. I should get that too.
Mickey, can you
Yes.
drop that easy 4-H thing in there now so I can take a look at it? Because I have to
Yeah.
say something about it.
Sure. Let me find it. Hold on.
Thanks.
Has anybody talked to Rochelle recently?
I talked to her on Tuesday night, maybe. Tonight's
Okay.
the family viewing, so I told her, do not even think about us. We'll be fine.
Sue,
No.
did you take the soup tour or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And she was home?
Yeah.
Was she doing okay?
Yeah, they were writing the obituary. They were,
But
struggling with that.
they're down in Sioux Falls now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they maybe didn't go till yesterday or today to get down there. I can't remember, but
That's the easy training.
thank you.
No problem.
So
Appreciate that.
Adrian's supposed to be on here, correct?
Yes.
He's
Oh
supposed
my
to
gosh.
be.
He's presenting first, right?
Yeah, Diane will be first, and then, but then of the two of you for the main sessions, yeah, Adrian first, and then you're last, yeah, or
Okay.
second.
So I should have looked at the schedule, but we're done at 8:30.
Yes.
So
I'm pulling up the schedule right now, you guys.
Yeah. So ballpark time frame for you, Lindsay, is 7:40 to 8:20, or
Okay.
that's what the schedule says, and we'll.
Okay. So I have a PowerPoint, but I'm just going to use that more as a resource for everyone. I'm not even going to really talk too much about it. We're just going to play the breakout games. So.
Okay, so tonight here, actually, I'll just share my screen again here. I'm gonna get pretty good at this share screen zipping back and forth, I hope at least. Or I'm gonna be terrible at it and everyone's just gonna suffer tonight.
I just have one screen, but I am actually more comfortable using just one screen because at least I know
what's being shown.
Yes.
Okay, so there is tonight's, oops, nope, that's not tonight's schedule. Hold up. There's tonight's schedule.
Okay. So Diane has 20 minutes.
Yep, so she recorded her presentation.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
She did the voiceover with her PowerPoint, and then there's a point in the PowerPoint where she says, here's a video. I pause the PowerPoint, I turn the video on. That plays for, I think that's like a 10-minute video. I think she did 23 minutes. It's 13 minutes of presentation, 10-minute video. And that was she kept trying to condense. So she said that's as small as she could get it.
Okay.
So Diane won't actually be joining in person, right?
No.
Okay.
No, she just sent it in to share.
And we all know Adrian's going to go over.
I don't know. Last time he did one, he went under and
Really?
Holly panic filled. Yeah, she
okay.
did a thing with him one night.
I can fill more time if he does.
Oh, I just got my warning to join this.
Sure, my phone's off.
Okay, so we're at 6:15. So is there any other things, Sue, Mickey, Lindsay, that we need to discuss? Otherwise, I guess you could begin to let people in and go back to your, the main screen with the map or the welcome or the map.
I should be good to go.
Oh, Paige is on. So hi, Paige.
Yep.
Glad to have you here.
Added her in, and I reached out to her this morning, and she was gracious enough to agree to do the board spiel for us tonight. So
yeah, awesome.
Thank you very much, Paige. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay, I've got this back up, and I will share the right screen. There we go. Okay, do you guys see the?
Yep, the map's back up.
Awesome. Okay.
So.
I think you're right, Lindsay. I like it better with just one screen when you're hosting because then you know what screen's showing.
Well, and I'm not bright enough to figure out how to use two screens, so. Okay, so I think you can start letting people in whenever you want. Okay, I see we've had a couple of people join. Welcome. We're glad to have you here tonight. I see we have one is logged in as Momster. Oh, she's gone. and Sandra and Colleen. And actually, if you would like, why don't you just put your name and county that you're coming from, or city, I guess that would work. Let's do county that you're coming from in the chat box. And we'll pause a little bit, but later on we'll put some stars here on the map. We'll kind of show you how that's done in a little bit. So hi Lynette, I see that you've joined us, and Brenda. I'm gonna just put a note in here in the chat box, is to ask you to put your name and county where you are participating from. So I did that, and I'll just start out here doing that. I'm in Fargo, Cass County. And if I could learn how to type, I'd do it quicker. All right, so thank you, Brenda, from Stutsman County Fort Seward Club. Well, I remember that club well. You had, way back when I was in Stutsman County, had some great crop judgers and some livestock judgers out of that club. Okay, good. You've added some hearts here or stars. So yes, up on the top under the view options, there will be an annotate in the menu. If you click on view options, annotate, and then you can select a stamp, and you can pick a heart. Oh, there's a star, and there's a few other choices as well, and then place that where you are tonight. Okay. Just going to kind of scroll through as I see people joining. Thank you, Sandra. Pierce County, great. And so if you want to go up to the top of your screen and the view options, and you can click on annotate and then select a symbol and click that and place it there at in the Pierce County area, right in Rugby or wherever you're from specifically. Oh, it was Rugby, so great. Just as a sideline, since we're talking rugby, about 3-4 years ago, took a train trip, my whole family, to Seattle, and which was lots of fun. Anyway, we did it. We left the day after land judging, and land judging was in Rugby. So we did that. I got home very late, and we had to head back to Fargo and get on the train at 3 in the morning. And about 8 o'clock in the morning, we rolled in, and there we was in Rugby, right where I had been 10 hours earlier. But it was a nice, pleasant stop. So we're glad you're with us. Let's see who else. We have Shauna has joined us. So Shauna, thank you. We're glad you're with us tonight. If you would put your name and where you're joining us from, city, county, in the chat box, that'd be great. We'd love to have that. And in addition to that, if you want to put a mark on the map, up on the top of your screen under View Options, there is a in the menu Annotate. And if you click on that, you can select under Stamp, one of the methods, a heart, a star, there's a check mark, an X, etc. You can pick what you like and then place that on the map where you're coming from. I see we have one heart up here in Canada. I don't know if that was a mistake or if it's there. So, welcome, Deanne. I'm glad you joined us. For those of you that are just joining now, we'd like you to just put your name and where you're coming from, city, county, in the chat box. So welcome, Deanne. Welcome, Lee. Let's see, am I missing anybody? Kayleen has joined us. Carrie, welcome you guys. Jenny and Alexandra, David, great. Jacob. And I'm not intentionally missing anyone, but if I do, please jot your name in. Susan, thanks for joining us again here tonight. And if you, as you join, if you would put your name and the city, county where you're coming from tonight, that gives us kind of an idea who all is on here. We'll be getting going at 6:30, so we have several minutes yet. And you can also put a mark on the map, annotation with heart, stamp, an X, check mark, whatever you choose, up in the top of your screen. If you click on View Options, and then in there there'll be an Annotate, and you select that in the menu. You can select Stamp, and then you've got a few choices there. And if you click on one of those stamps, and then go put your marker, pencil on the map to wherever you're coming from and click that, that'll give us kind of a little picture of where everybody is tonight. So welcome, Heather. Glad you've joined us. Thank you. And I'm just gonna scroll through the group again. Billy McLeod, I don't think I've said welcome to you, so we're glad you're on. Emily, thank you for joining us. Kindred Sandburgers, all right. We have Jacob, and if let's see, I think Kayleen, you're already been in there. Corey, Lynette, Paige, Shauna, Sandra, Lee, Sherelle, you're on, great. We have the Kraft family from Mercer. And so for all of you, if you haven't already, if you would just jot your name and the city, county that you're coming from tonight in the chat box, that kind of gives us a nice picture where everybody is. And then for just to get a kind of that picture on the map, if you would go up to the top of your screen, there should be some view options. And if you click on that, there'll be a menu item called Annotate. If you click on Annotate, you'll see some choices there. Go to the stamp mark, and then there's I think about half a dozen different stamps you can use. Click on one of those and then go to the map and click on that spot that where you're coming from, and that kind of gives us a picture. As you can see, we've got people from up in the Stanley area working across to Rugby, Grand Forks, down to Fargo, back along the interstate a little bit, a little south of Steele, and then down into am I in McIntosh County there probably, or something very close anyway. So yes, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you very much. And we'll continue. We've got another, say, 4 minutes or so for people to hook up, and then we'll kind of get we will get underway. But hopefully, most everyone will be on by that time that's able to join us for tonight. Mickey is recording the session tonight, and so that will be processed at some point and available, but we do want you to know that. All right, Emma has joined us, so welcome, Emma. Glad you're here. Ward County 4-H, so I'm assuming that is probably a group of you. And so if you want to, in the chat box, kind of just throw in names and where you're from, that would be great. That gives us a nice picture of who's here. And then in addition, as we look at pictures, we can look at the map here of North Dakota. And if you want to go up to view options up at the top of your screen, click on that and there'll be a annotate in that menu. Click on that and then you can find the stamp. And there's about half a dozen choices. You can pick one that you like, click on that, and then go down to the map and click where you're coming from. We've got a couple of stars and several hearts here today, so it's kind of scattered throughout the state. That's wonderful. And let's see if we can fill it up a little bit more here in the next couple of minutes. Oh, very good. We have Mr. Bischoff. Glad you joined us. If you would, you've already written it in the chat box. Go ahead and select a star and find your spot or a stamp and put it in your location. Nancy Charles, I don't think I had welcomed you. We're glad to have you here. Lisa from Barnes County Litchfield Clovers, terrific. My wife, I don't know if it was the Litchfield Clovers, but is from Litchfield and was a Barnes County 4-H member. You know, long time ago. Eileen Enerson, great, glad to have you with us. I'm probably missing somebody as the names go in alphabetically. So if I miss you, again, for everyone, if you would just jot your name in the name and where you're coming from, city, county, in the chat box. That kind of gives us a real nice picture of who's all participating tonight. We've got just another minute or so and then we'll actually get underway. We have 41 participants at this point in time, so we'll pick up a few more yet before we start. Lene, good, thank you, welcome. And Holly Whittick from Wells County, great. Brianna Miller, great, Brianna, thank you. Trying to catch these as you do again. Anyone that joins us, if you would put your name and where you're coming from, either city, county, or both in the chat box, that'd be great. And then if you want to go up to view options on the top of your screen, click on that. There'll be an annotate in that menu. Click on that, and then you'll see this list of options here. If you take a look at stamp and select one of the stamps and then go find where you're coming from located in the state and click there and it gives us a little picture of where everybody is. So welcome Ross, glad to have you here. Millie, thanks for joining us tonight. Emma, great. From Hankinson, Richland County, very good. Aurora Skies 4-H Club, I like that name, that's a great name. Sarah, thank you for joining us tonight. And take a look, we're at 42, well, 42 logins, and if there's more than one of you at a location, obviously we have more than that in terms of participation, so that's terrific. We're glad to have everybody that is able to join us. It is 6:30, in fact, it's probably just changing to 6:31 even, so I think we will get underway, but as people join, before we get too far, we'll remind one more time, it looks like we have 46 participants right now, so yes, please put a mark on the screen, we do want to say a great big welcome. In fact, Mickey, we'll probably let you put up those initial slides if you would. But we do want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the opportunity to join you with this way. Obviously, it's not the same as usual when we've been able to do this in person, but we certainly are glad to have you join us here tonight. We have a couple of presentations tonight, and so before we do that, I'm going to ask our presenters that are on maybe to do a quick introduction. I haven't seen Adrian. Adrian, are you on?
Yes, I am, Dean.
Okay, go ahead and just introduce yourself, Adrian, to everybody, and then of course we'll come back to you in a little while.
I'm Adrian Beaver. I work at the Center 4-H with Dean and some of the other ones that are on here tonight. I'm a state specialist in agriculture and agriculture and shooting sports, and it kind of comes under the environmental program. So I've been here for about 18 years now, and so this is a new thing for me, so it's stretching my limits again.
Well, it's stretching all of ours a little bit, but it's certainly, while the inconveniences and the disappointments of some of the things, that we have had a chance to learn some new skills, so we appreciate that. Lindsay Leaker will also be presenting tonight. Dr. Leaker, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Dean. My name's Lindsay. I work at the Center for 4-H. I know many of you on this call. I am in charge of STEM programming for the state, and also I have a piece of 4-H camp programming and staffing with Adrian. So we work together quite a bit. I've been with Extension and 4-H for I think almost 4 years, and before that I taught in higher education. So tonight I'm going to be talking about virtual programming, but how you can also do it in person if you have the luxury of doing that.
Thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate that. So as we move into tonight, we do need to recognize our sponsor, North Dakota Farm Credit, and the North Dakota 4-H Foundation. And so we do have a welcome from Paige Brumman, a member of the North Dakota 4-H Foundation Board. And so Paige, we'll turn it over to you for a moment.
Thanks, Dean. So for those of you that are on last week, I kind of have the same things I want to go over, but hopefully there's some new people on that can learn a little bit about the foundation as well. So again, my name is Paige Brumman, and I'm an extension agent up in Ward County in the Minot area. And then I also serve on the 4-H Foundation Board as a representative for the North Dakota Association of Agricultural Extension Agents. So I want to share a little bit about the foundation. We're very happy to be a sponsor for this volunteer project training and to support a variety of North Dakota 4-H programs. The foundation's mission is to help provide financial resources to support 4-H in North Dakota. So in other words, we raise money. We're the fundraising arm. And we've just completed our 60th year of being a part of North Dakota 4-H. The foundation provides financial support to many of the programs in 4-H, such as Extension Youth Conference, the 4-H Ambassadors, the State Ambassador Program, the Ever-Growing Shooting Sports Program, multiple judging contests, STEM activities, these type of volunteer training events, and many more. In addition, we help support trips to the National 4-H Conference in Washington, D.C. each year, and the National 4-H Congress in Atlanta, Georgia. We also support 4-H activities at the North Dakota State Fair. We work with donors to provide approximately a dozen different college scholarships each year, and we normally hold an annual awards luncheon that would be actually occurring tomorrow if this were a typical year. And that honors the 4-H the Century Family Award that recognizes families that have over 100 years or more of combined 4-H involvement. So think of families in your counties that might qualify for that recognition. And then we also select people to the North Dakota 4-H Hall of Fame, and we work with the Center of 4-H to recognize an Outstanding Volunteer of the Year award. The foundation owns the North Dakota 4-H camp near Washburn and works closely with the 4-H program to put on those camps each summer. The camp was recently renovated a few years ago and is now capable of hosting events year-round, even in the winter. So hopefully you have or will have an opportunity to experience those upgrades firsthand at the North Dakota 4-H camp in the future. The foundation also owns the Lumen Ranch property near Dickinson and is currently working on the best ways to utilize that property in the future. I mentioned raising money, and we have several different giving opportunities throughout the year. We have an annual year-end appeal letter that will go out in a few weeks to a variety of sponsors, large sponsors around the state. We're also a part of the NDSU Giving Day, which will occur on December 1st, coming up here very quickly. And we've been a part of the Giving Hearts Day, which happens in February for several years. These giving days often have additional donors that match your donations. So if you or a business is looking for giving money, a lot of times these days are a good opportunity to do that because your funds are matched. So if you donate a little bit, you're actually doubling your impact. A few other things the foundation does is they sell bricks at the camp where you can have either your family name, a club, a business on the brick. And we currently have a fundraising project going on to help develop the patio and an outdoor kitchen area near the dining hall. We work with business partners to develop sponsorships for the 4-H program, and we work with the NDSU Alumni Foundation to help provide major gift giving opportunities for our donors. So again, we're proud to have been part of North Dakota 4-H for 60 years and look forward to many, many more years. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact any of the members of the foundation board. Our website is part of the North Dakota 4-H Foundation or North Dakota 4-H website, so you can find information about the foundation there. And Penny Dale is our foundation manager, so she's another good resource for information. So that's all I have. I'll turn it back over to Dean. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. We appreciate that. We appreciate the support of the foundation and what they do and the connections that they make for us for 4-H programming, throughout the year. And so thank you for that information and greeting from the foundation. A couple of people that I didn't introduce and probably should have right away is I do want to let you know that Mickey Mertz, support staff here in the Center for 4-H, is doing all the behind the scenes kind of work here tonight. So this wouldn't happen without her. So thank you, Mickey, for doing that. And then I also want to mention that Sue Kwame from Center for 4-H is also on. She's going to come on just a little bit later and talk a little bit about 4-H Easy training. And so at that time, we'll let Sue kind of introduce herself. So at this time, we are at the point where we have some 4-H special programs, youth issues, and the underserved. And Diane Hahn, who is works in our office and with some of these special programs such as that, has prepared a presentation for tonight. So I think Nikki's in the process of getting that ready. And so with that, we'll listen to Diane's presentation.
I did just want to mention really quick before I jump on the presentations, Rochelle wanted us to mention that at the end of the evening, she'd like everybody to participate in an evaluation if possible. And so we'll drop those links into the chat box. I'll drop them in now and then I'll go ahead and do it again later on. And then also there are some other resources available like online training for community clubs. And that's the other link I will drop in there as well. So,
great, thank you, Mickey. Yes, yeah, and so we'll repeat those as needed, but I appreciate that. Diane is not with us in person tonight, but we do have her presentation, so we'll allow you to get that set up. As I look, we have at least 53 sites joining us, and we know there's multiple people at some of them, so that's terrific. We're glad to have everybody here.
okay.
Oh, we're not hearing her, Mickey.
You're not hearing her?
No. Did you?
Okay. Let me try again.
So thank you everyone for just being patient as we go through this, but we'll get that adjusted.
Let's see.
Mickey, it's still not on, but when you might have to unshare it and then reshare it and make sure that you optimize the on the bottom of that screen You might have to go back out and start over. Oh, there it is. It's still not working.
Was it playing the audio this time?
We
No.
heard just a word or two of it, so.
Oh, great.
Okay.
All right, let me give this one more go. We did it internally at my house this morning, so I had it working at one point. I apologize, everybody. I will get this figured out. Okay.
And I'll just mention as we go here through the course of the night during the presentations that are come up, if you have questions or comments or something that you're wondering about, feel free to put those in the chat box too, and we'll do our best to address those. Still no sound, Mickey.
Still no sound. Awesome. Okay. Golly.
So I didn't introduce myself either as we started today. But my name is Dean Ockery, and I been in the center for quite a while. I work with some of the statistics in the 4-H online program. Some days I feel like I know a little bit less each day, but we work through it. I also am in charge of plant science programming and some of those kind of things, as well as some of the statistics that go with some of that. And I will be presenting next week on our next session as one of two presenters again, and so we hope that you can join us. And Mickey, are you feeling confident, or Adrian?
I think so, actually. I think I figured it out.
Okay, all right. Well, then let's give it a try again. And again, thank you everybody for your patience as we do this piece of it.
My name is Diane Hahn, and I'm a program coordinator
Yes,
in the 4-H. And tonight I'm just going to share a little bit with you about some of the programs that I work with. So the programs I work with would fall under two categories. One would be programs for those populations that have been identified as underserved youth, and the other would be under special programs or youth development issues. So military youth, in addition to the regular stressors that all youth face, military youth have some additional life challenges. They have to cope with parental deployments, frequent moves, and for those from the National Guard and Reserves that are not living on an installation, that live all around the state in communities like yours, a lack of connection with other youth who may have some of their same experiences. We have the 4-H Club program on the Minot and the Grand Forks Air Force bases, and those programs are supported by the Ward County and Grand Forks County Extension agents. Guard and Reserve youth are part of 4-H all over the state of North Dakota, and many of you may have National Guard or Reserve youth in your 4-H clubs. We want all of those youth to feel part of their community, so connecting them with 4-H clubs, camps, and other 4-H experiences is very valuable. 4-H can offer a lot of support for military youth. The 4-H National Mentoring Program is a grant-funded program through National 4-H Council and funded through the Office of Juvenile Justice Programs. This program serves youth on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. Youth are matched with a mentor, and they're matched according to what their interests are. And the mentors are enrolled tribal members. and they work with youth on a regular basis, and they work to develop life skills using 4-H educational resources and others. They connect with families as well, and the program helps strengthen connections to their tribal culture and customs. Sue Isbell from NDSU Extension in Sioux County is the coordinator for that program, and she's been doing that for many years. These are some of the pictures of youth in that program. The one on the left is very special. Those youth came out to North Dakota 4-H camp and did a camp out there with us, and that was really fun. And it was a great experience for them. The CIFAR grant, Children, Youth, and Families at Risk, is a multi-year grant through USDA NIFA, which is U.S. Department of Ag, National Institute for Food and Ag. And that program is a team effort. We have specialists in the state 4-H office that are on that team. That would be Lindsay Leaker and Sue Kwame. And also Sue Isbell from Sioux County Extension is part of that team. Local communities are part of that team, and that is very important to engage the local communities and make sure that the project is what they want and is meeting their needs. The CIFAR project is a joint project with the 1994 institution at Fort Totten on Spirit Lake Nation. American Indians are chronically underrepresented in STEAM careers. They lack role models and access to educational resources and other opportunities. So we're hoping that this program will strengthen culturally relevant STEAM programming for tribal youth in those two communities, Standing Rock and Spirit Lake Nation. And we're really excited. We're at the start of this project, so we're really excited for it. The other program I work with would fall under Youth Issues, Reducing and Preventing Youth Risk Behavior. So let me ask you this question. What do you think is the #1 killer of teenagers in America? Well, we asked people all over the country, what do they think is lethal for the teen age group? And this is some of the answers that they came up with. I want you to look at each of these posters, and there'll be one answer on each of those posters that gives you a little bit of a hint as to the answer of this question. See if you can find that. So some of those things clearly can be lethal. Shotguns, Ebola, piranhas, poison, lattes. How about BFFs? One of them said lip gloss. How do you think those things could be lethal? So what do you think is the #1 killer of teens in America? And the answer is car crashes. Car crashes kill over 4,000 teens each year in this country, and another 400,000 are seriously injured. So that's why 4-H decided to take on this project, the Impact Teen Drivers Project. It is a statewide project and it's supported by the extension in all the counties, and it's funded through a grant with the North Dakota Department of Health. And we do partner with the North Dakota Association of Counties and local communities on this program. So let's do a little trivia and see what you know. According to the Department of Transportation 2017 crash report, teen drivers make up 5% of all drivers, licensed drivers in North Dakota, but they're behind the wheel in what % of all crashes? And the answer is 20%. So they are 4 times more likely than all other age groups combined to crash. And also in North Dakota, teen drivers were involved in 12% of fatal crashes. What % of teen crash deaths do you think are passengers? Well, if you said roughly half, that's correct. 45% of those deaths are passengers riding with another teen driver? What percentage of teen crashes involve drugs or alcohol? What do you think? Well, the answer is 25%. 25% involve drugs or alcohol. That means 75% of those crashes can be attributed to other everyday distractions and reckless driving. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So what do you think are some of the factors that contribute to the crash risk of teenage drivers? There are many of them. So see if you can think of a few, and then we're going to talk about those. One of them is nighttime driving. Nighttime driving is quite a bit more dangerous than daytime driving. The visibility is lower, you have animals, you have impaired drivers out, and also drowsy driving is a big issue. Other teen passengers. That is very important, we'll talk about that. Operating a cell phone or other electronic device. Most of you probably got that correct. A teenager operating a cell phone is 3 times more likely to crash. Eating or drinking. When you're eating or drinking, you take your hands off of the wheel, your eyes off of the road, and you probably do not have your mind on your driving. Changing the music, just reaching to change your playlist or the radio station. Or simply reaching for an object. So we talked about passengers are a crash risk. So research shows that for every teen passenger in the car, a teen's likelihood to crash increases. So 1 teen passenger increases the likelihood to crash by 44%. And as you go up from there, 3 teen passengers increases the chance to crash by 3 to 4 times. And that's in contrast to adults, where if adults have another adult driver with them, their crash risk goes down. And the reason for that is adults with more experience tend to have passengers who are also scanning the road, looking for potential hazards and helping the driver out. Not so much in a teen car. The average text is how many seconds, do you think? 5 seconds. So think about this. 5 seconds. Going 55 miles an hour down the road, you receive a text and you look at it, or you send a quick text. That is like driving the entire length of a football field blindfolded. True or false? Compared with other age groups, teen drivers have the highest rate of seatbelt use. Do you think that's true or false? And it's actually false. In fact, teen drivers have the lowest rates of seatbelt use. And we know from the youth risk behavior surveys that in North Dakota, seatbelt use tends to be lower than the rest of the country. And especially in those rural areas, we do see that seatbelt use is even lower there. And this is astonishing. 50% of all crash fatalities would still be alive if they had simply chosen to buckle up. So now we're going to watch a short video. This video is part of the Impact Teen Drivers program that we do. There's many of them. I've chosen this one to share with you today just to show you a little bit about what the program is about. And then we'll come back afterwards.
Something that kills you or somebody around you.
Falling from a building.
Skydiving without a parachute.
Maybe a stampede. Untied shoes.
Monkeys. Ninjas for sure.
The mafia. Bad takeout.
Somebody with a samurai sword trying to chop somebody's head off.
A bobcat.
Oh, a bad dad joke is very deadly. So what do you...
Are people unable to see the video?
True.
Well, let's see what we can do now. here.
Consider
How about
lethal.
now?
For most, it's either
Yes.
dangers they sense immediately
It's
around
working?
them,
Yes,
or
we
it's
can see
based
it.
on an experience they had. We asked random people.
Something that kills you or somebody around you.
Falling from a building.
Skydiving without a parachute.
Maybe a stampede. Untied shoes.
Monkeys. Ninjas for sure.
The mafia. Bad takeout.
Somebody with a samurai sword trying to chop somebody's head off.
A bobcat.
Oh, a bad dad joke is very deadly. So what do you consider lethal? For most, it's either the dangers they sense immediately around them, or it's based on an experience they had. We asked random people what they thought was the #1 killer of teens in America. Here's what they said.
I want to say drunk driving.
Drunk driving.
Yeah.
Sex, drugs, and alcohol.
Possibly drug overdose. Drugs.
Cigarettes.
Drinking.
Online dating.
The #1 killer of teens in America is something we've all participated in. Reckless and distracted driving. We have all seen someone send a text while driving, post a picture, dig through a bag, or turn to talk to friends, all while supposedly keeping their eyes on the road. So, for the next few minutes, we want to show you the lives that have been shattered by reckless and distracted driving, and the simple things that you can do to avoid becoming a statistic.
Cuba police say they now have a prime example of the damage distracted driving can cause.
A Central California teenager is behind bars after a car crash that killed her younger sister.
Live on Instagram while driving. Her younger sister was killed. The crash was all recorded, and this is a distracted driver. There were 2 minors in the car, and they were not wearing seatbelts.
A live vigil to remember Christine Martinez, who was just 17 years old when she was killed in that crash.
The 18-year-old Summer Solomon was behind the wheel when she lost control. The car rolling 3 times. Martinez ejected from the vehicle. Through tears and candlelight, they gathered, united in their grief, mourning a young life cut short.
She was always so happy on the field.
Loved ones say the losses are devastating.
So what is reckless and distracted driving? Distracted driving is any time you have to take your eyes off the road, your hands off the wheel, or when your mind is not focused on driving for any reason. And reckless driving is speeding and acting like a total fool. Now for the simple part. How do we keep from needlessly dying in a car crash? That's easy. First, tell your friends that as much as you love them, to sit down and be quiet. Second, realize that you decrease the risk of crashing your car by 2,000% when you don't text and drive. Third, come to terms with the fact that you might have to wake up a few minutes earlier so you're not speeding or running stop signs while putting your life and the life of others at risk. Still not exactly sure what reckless and distracted driving is? Let's see what our resident experts have to say.
Oh, it's on? Oh, hi, my name is Lex. Oh, and I'm Hayden. And we're here to help you save lives. Like mine. Because distracted driving is deadly. Better than my grandpa's farts. Gross, dude. Ew. And gross like all you kissy-faced kids that drive. You boys are like, hey, baby, give me a kiss. And you girls like, oh, you're so hot. I'll give you all the kisses in the world. Besides being nasty, you're not looking at the road. And what's with you eating in the car? You drink in one hand and a burger in the other. And think you could steal with your knees? You ain't Spider-Man. Do you really want your last meal to be off the dollar menu? And last but not least, your phones. It doesn't matter if you're driving hands-free, but when you're on it, you're driving brain-free. And taking pictures of yourself and texting your friends, that's stupid. Lex, no name-calling. No matter how lame driving with your phone in the car is. Sorry. Not sorry. Well, a lot of you should be sorry. Seriously. You gotta cut the distracted driving. Put 2 hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, and your brain focused. The reason this is so important to me is that I recently lost my 19-year-old cousin, Christian, in a crash that was completely avoidable. And I miss him every day.
Let's see what's so distracting.
What?
Texting.
Texting?
I like to dance when I drive. Car dancing. Phones.
Trying to find the right song.
Reading a book? Food?
I get distracted by directions a lot.
Talking to friends. Doing makeup.
I admittedly have changed and drove before. I tried to write a paper on my laptop while I was driving.
What we often hear from victims is that they never thought it would happen to them. That their son, daughter, friend, or classmate could be involved in a fatal car crash. And no one could imagine causing such a tragic event.
Let me tell you about Donovan.
He was my teammate.
He was my son.
He was a classmate.
He was my best friend.
He was my boyfriend.
My son was my baby boy.
I met Donovan in about 8th grade, and we just immediately became friends. We just connected.
And I came here before my freshman year, and he was the first person that actually talked to me.
Looking at how he interacted with others, it was something that made me proud.
Donovan was definitely a people person. He attracted all kinds.
I was playing line, and he was the running back, and I led block him all the way for a touchdown. And ever since then, we just became good friends.
I see him as the leader of the pack.
He would not only lead by example, but also try to help others sort through whatever they were going through in their own lives. A day I'll never forget. Life as I knew it ended forever.
And then we were driving home. We were just kids having fun.
I was going over the speed limit excessively, and we were blaring the music up really loud.
And I noticed that we were going pretty fast.
And it was causing the car to swerve back and forth.
And we were making fun of her, telling her can't you keep the car in a straight line?
My response was, oh, like this? And I jerked the wheel back and forth.
I remember all the sounds of the car crashing.
I looked around and I see Donovan,
but he wasn't moving. So I sat with Danica. I kept telling her, Donovan's dead. Donovan's dead.
I even remember calling out Donovan's name and, hoping that he would hear me and just get up.
The Madera Ranchos community is mourning the death of a teenager killed in a car crash early this morning.
Not my son, not my boy.
And I think that was one of the most painful things to experience, was hearing a mother cry about her son.
The screaming of a mother just now finding out that her son is dead. And all simply because of something that was so preventable.
My life was shattered by distracted driving. The decisions made by everyone in the car, including Donovan, are what's responsible for his death. Were they bad kids? No. Did they make bad decisions? Absolutely. And my son Donovan, he knew to always wear his seatbelt. But why that night did he choose not to? I'll ask myself that question for the rest of my life. So why does my family choose to share our worst moment? Because we want each of you to remember that every time you get in a vehicle, you have to make good choices. Otherwise, it could be the last choice you make, as it was for my son Donovan.
So we've heard the compelling stories. We've seen the stats, and you understand the simplicity of the message. What is most lethal to young people is making poor choices in a car. The good news is that we have the power to change and stop the #1 killer of young people in America. When you are behind the wheel, focus on the road ahead of you and make good decisions each and every ride. If you're a passenger, don't distract the driver, and everyone gets to where they're going safely. Finally, visit what'slethal.com. Together, we can save lives.
Thank you, Mickey, for putting that up for us, and thank you to Diane for preparing that for everyone tonight. If you are interested in working with Diane for that program, we'll make sure her email is in the chat box here towards the end of the evening. So now we're going to go into 2 additional sessions.
Wait, she's a few more.
Oh, I'm
she's
sorry.
A few more slides left.
Oh, that's right. I knew that too.
Sorry.
So the goal of the Impact Teen Drivers program is to engage and educate youth and their...
Is everyone hearing the audio? I just want to check before I keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
Their influencers and empower youth to make better choices behind the wheel and as passengers. So the program is evidence-based. It includes evaluations. It's delivered by trained facilitators, and we have facilitators all around the state. We do have some options. There are in-person presentations, live webinars, and now we have a new website with interactive education modules where students can do the program at their own speed. The presentations are about 45 to 60 minutes, and there are different levels. There's curriculum for elementary, middle, high school, and even college. The program is free, engaging, and interactive. What I love about the program is that it shares real life stories, so it connects with youth on a visceral level. It's not gore, but it connects with them, of those human interest stories. And then it gives real life strategies and tools that youth can use to help them make better choices. It's all about choices. So something to remember, car crashes are 100% preventable. Over 90% of car crashes can be attributed to some sort of human behavior. So that is the good news, that they are preventable. Thank you so much for participating in volunteer training. My name is Diane Hahn. Again, if you have any questions about the Impact Teen Drivers program, if you want to get involved in it, bring it to your community, please contact me at my email below, or if you want to find out more about some of the other programs that I coordinate. Thank you again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the evening. You have a lot of engaging information ahead of you. Thank you.
All right, now I'll start. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Diane, for putting that together, and Mickey for getting it all to work. I did put Diane's email in the chat box too, for those of you, if anyone would like that, to learn more about it or get that contact. So now we're going to move into 2 sessions. There will be 40 minutes each. The first one is going to be by Adrian Beaver on environmental study activities. And so with that, we'll turn it over to Adrian.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So I'm Adrian Beaver. In case you've just joined us, I work for the Center for 4-H as a youth development specialist, and my program area is environmental. And under environmental is generally shooting sports, ag, and of course environmental science. Okay.
Adrian, so I'm going to interrupt you, and you want to switch screens so that we get both the speaker notes and so forth with this.
Now this afternoon when I did this, it worked, of course. So, okay. Okay, how's that?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dean. So this summer, we, of course, you know, with the COVID, we lost a lot of opportunities in programming face-to-face. My primarily activities have been mostly with shooting sports, and which take up a lot of time, in camping during the summer. So this actually was a blessing in a kind of disguise, because it freed up some time for me to work on some environmental projects, which I've been thinking about for a long time, but it always is on the stack of things to do, and a lot of times doesn't get pushed to the top. But this year I was able to push it to the top. So with environmental activities, kind of the goal for the program and kind of the things that I picked out for now are to create awareness of how environment interacts with humans, create an awareness of the interaction of animals with the environment, and create an ability for youth and others to evaluate decisions affecting the environment. Okay, so one thing, I'm probably going to go through these slides and then back up and show you some things with the camera, so I don't have to switch back and forth all the time. But we do have national curriculums, and this is the website for them. There are some new ones I see that I haven't looked at this probably for 6 months, but I looked today, and there seem to be, to me, to be some new ones that haven't been there before. And so it would be good if you haven't been there lately to go check that out. And if you've never been there, absolutely, because there is a number of good activity curriculums. Those curriculums you can order through their extension offices, and they'll help you out with that. They do cost $6 to $8. I don't know, I think the highest was $12 the last time I looked. We do have shooting sports record books. So if your youth is into shooting sports, I'll show you what they look like when I switch the camera on, but we have them for all disciplines, and they're nice. They're record books where they can keep track of their shooting activities. Plus it also has lessons in the content so that instructors can use them to teach new shooters things about shooting sports. Okay, so a teaching plan, and you know, in the books that we have, they go through and they have similar things in their curriculums, and the ones that I developed, I kind of follow what a teacher in school does, because that is my background. So a lesson goal is an overall idea of what you're trying to teach youth. The lesson objectives are as a step within that lesson that will take it towards learning that goal. So if you accomplish that objective, you've accomplished something towards learning the goal of the lesson. Okay, so generally lessons have more than one objective, depending on what level they are and you know, the extent of the activity. Lesson materials are just simply the supplies for the lesson. The content knowledge is the information needed to teach and understand the activity. Now this is actually for the volunteer or the teacher, and sometimes people like to skip that and just go to just skip and do the activity. Well, if you have to adapt an activity, you really need some content knowledge to teach it, and then I might have to go beyond what's in the lesson to really round it out. If, say, the lesson is for 4th, 5th graders and you have a 7th or 8th grader, you might have to add a little bit higher level thinking or complexity to that lesson for them to really be satisfied about learning with it. So the content knowledge, please don't skip that when you look at lessons. Read that to discover what you know to teach it. The questions to the, you know, that answer, we want to check to make sure that the youth are learning what we want them to learn, which is the objective. And so the questions should be answered, should pertain to the objective, and if they learned what your intention was. And one thing I've always told people when it comes to teaching is, if you have a chance, absolutely practice the activity to discover any helpful hints. And sometimes that means it doesn't go the way you thought it would go. You don't quite have the right materials. Can you substitute some things in? There's numerous things that you can discover by doing it. And as I go along here, I'll kind of reveal some of that. So the glacier melt activity is a simple activity designed for younger kids to do, to learn something about air pollution and how it affects the polar ice cap and ice melting and the whole refrigeration unit of the Earth, to put it kind of in layman's term. But the reason some of these are simple is because we discovered this summer when I developed these lessons that a lot of the parents who are looking for activities for their kids have third, fourth, fifth graders. And the higher kids, 7th, 8th, and 9th, were burnt out on doing things like this. And so they weren't as receptive to that. So I decided just to do unplugged activities and make them simple. And if they needed more, we can adapt them. And so that's what we did. So for the glacier melt, it's a pretty simple activity. All you need to do is take 2 9-inch pans, fill them with about 1 inch of water, and take a teaspoon of dirt and mix it into the one pan and freeze them. And once they're froze, you take like a teaspoon of dirt and sprinkle it over the top of the other glacier, or one glacier, and then there you have the glacier that's affected by pollution, and the clean glacier will be the one that's not. And so what we had kids do is put them out on a picnic table, sitting on a piece of plastic or a tarp, so that with a lighter background, so we didn't have a black background which would absorb all the energy there is, or a completely white background which would reflect it all. And then watch for the difference in rate of melt. And a lot of the kids had fun with that because it was simple and it didn't take very long in 80-degree weather for the glaciers to melt. And if you look in the picture up there in the corner, you can see that maybe make a prediction about which one melted faster. Now, if you wanted to adapt this for older youth, you could put a collection system and collect the water and so much per 15 minutes, which is kind of a bigger step towards a more scientific method in determining the amount of glacier melt over a period of time. Okay. So environmental activities as far as the greenhouse influence. There's a couple different versions to this. This version uses ice cubes and room temperature water, or at least water of the same temperature in both jars, the same amount, the same size jars. And sometimes, well, I noticed that people that sent me pictures of these, with even this picture up here in the next slide, shows that they're measuring the water temperature instead of the air temperature above the water in the jar. And so that's what we're trying to measure here is with this greenhouse effect with the plastic jar over, with the plastic sack over the one jar and the one jar remaining open, representing an Earth without a CO2 layer, and the sack on the first jar represents the CO2 layer, or which would promote global warming. So when you monitor these over a period of time, this is a small system. So if you do this at room temperature and set it in a windowsill, that it'll work that way pretty good. But I noticed that, like I tried this the last couple of days, there's only about a 1 to 2 degree difference in the temperatures. But in the summertime, it was more like 3 or 4 degrees at times. So it does matter how much solar radiation you have. And with this experiment, if you would do it outside and it's 80 to 85 degrees, it kind of overpowers the experiment, and it doesn't work because it's just too much outside heat in the environment. So that would be a helpful hint for that. And then on the other side here is our activity records that you fill out with these 2 activities. And of course, we have some resources and things below on the activity sheet. Okay, as far as the plastic sacks that we use, you can see here they use Ziploc bags, and they work if you can close them over. If you can close them over the jar, they will work okay. They are kind of thick, but they do represent the layer. But if you leave the bottoms open like that, a lot of the heat is lost out the bottom, or it's more able to be overpowered by the outside temperature. And you notice they have the thermometer there that measures the water temperature, and it's not taped above the water up inside the jars. Okay, so, and then even on the windowsill now, when we have reduced sunlight, I notice I gotta put something underneath the jar and get it up above the sill so there's no shadow on the water or on any part of the experiment, because that does affect the results of it. Okay, so this is a camping stove project, and I would have liked to have you guys actually go through and make that. I didn't know that if we would have enough time with that or not. So I just decided to show some different versions of it, and maybe some results here. So I'm going to kick on my camera, and we'll go back through some of this that we're talking about, and then we'll talk about it. So. Okay, so first off, this is the archery. I know it's going to look backwards, but this is the archery book that we have, brand new. We have them for muzzle loader, we have them for shotgun, all the disciplines, and they're kind of cool because they have a lot of different things in them. Like I said, we have a record book that you can record. You have lessons, there's pledge for 4-H meetings. There's parts of the bows and things like that. This particular one is archery, but we do have it for the other disciplines. This is one of the curriculums. This is one of the curriculums that offers this Exploring Your Environment on the national website that you can get, but there are more than that. These are just happen to be the only ones I have. So on the glacier activity, this is actually a paint roller pan that you pour paint in, and you take a paint roller and paint with. If you tip this up a little bit and you lay your glacier in here, then you can collect the melt water down here. You can actually take the glacier out and set it in another pan, and then dump this in like a, I can't think of it now. Dump it in something to measure the water, so to compare the melt. So if you notice here already, this one has dirt on it. It's been sitting here in the light, and it's already melted in the creases just from the difference in the color of the ice. Okay. Okay, so this one. So this is the experiment to discover the difference, what effect that the greenhouse effect has, with the sac representing the layer of CO2 in the atmosphere. And I just used a tent peg to put it above the water. The jar is about 1/3 full of water. We put 5 or 6 ice cubes in there, and leave this one alone and cover this one up and seal it. Like I said, in this today, when I did this today, and I did it the other day when it was sunny, there was about 1.5 degrees of difference with this one actually warming faster than this one. And so to ask your youth those questions, why would that be? That's part of it. So. Okay, so I'm going to unpack this little stove, and this is actually a fun little project for kids to do. So kind of where I come across this idea is I always like to repurpose things, and I like them to fit in the backpack if they can. Actually, some of this stuff, I have another version here I'll show you in a bit, but I actually take, like, we go catfishing out on the bank of the Red River or the Cheyenne sometimes. And, you know, when you have kids along, you need something else for them to do until the fish bite. Or maybe you just feel like, you know, cooking some s'mores or something and do it in a different way so that there's a little bit of different experience for kids. So that's where kind of where this idea is. So unpack it, it pretty much almost all fits in here. This is the bottom can, and I like the can because it contains the charcoal and anything that you use to burn. And it's, if there's a fire hazard or you don't quite have a place that you can get very well cleaned, it's kind of safer to have it in this, where probably you couldn't use it otherwise if there was no place to light a fire and it was safe. Okay, so there's two, I carry 2 charcoals in there, and they last about 45 minutes and will cook a fair amount of things actually. And I always carry the tin foil, and as much as I need or want. And then this is just a cap, of course. So I know you see in the on the activity sheet, there's a little sardine tin, or this might be oysters washed out. But make sure when if you use anything to cook with like this, that it's food grade so that it's safe to use. So the grate. Grate is giving me it. Okay, so the grate to set whatever you're cooking on is just a piece of steel screen. It sits on there. You can actually boil a cup of water with it if you want. Anything like that. If you do any baking with it though, you need to take the aluminum foil and wrap it around whatever you're baking and close it so that it'll bake that way. So what I recommend though is, first off, if you're going to cook fast and you want to cook an egg, that all you really need is 3 cotton balls like this. You just need 3 cotton balls in there, and then what you add to those cotton balls beforehand is petroleum jelly. And so what you want to do is use, I find the best results for me is to use a petroleum jelly that doesn't have any additive in it. Like some of it comes with cocoa butter or something, or coconut mixed in there. It's a flavoring or a smell. It seems to not burn as well, and it might add a flavor to your food too. I don't know, but anyway, I've always used just the plain petroleum jelly, and it's also the cheapest, so that's okay. So anyway, I mix that into the cotton balls, and that's what's in here, and I keep them in the baggie, and I just put them in the bottom of the, there. And if I can, I cheat a lot of times and use a lighter. I hate to admit that, but because most people want you to use waterproof matches and stuff. But I take the lighter and I use a cotton swab. And so the cotton swab doesn't really need to be treated, but you can treat it with petroleum. It kind of acts like a little torch then. And I just light them. And those three cotton balls will actually fry an egg. And here's the egg. I did that today. They will actually fry an egg for you if that's what you want. They'll bake a bun, though it takes a while. It takes about 30 minutes to do them. This egg was about 20 minutes. The buns were about 30 minutes, and you have to turn the buns. So it does work okay, and it's a portable little thing, and it's a neat little thing for the kids to play with. If you use the cotton balls and light it, it cooks quickly. If you want something that lasts longer, then you put 3 cotton balls in there, and you put the 2 coals in there, and you light it. Those cotton balls will get those coals going, and you have heat for about 40 to 45 minutes with that. So this is a neat little contraption. It does work, and so kind of a cool thing. Now, if you'd like to have more of an oven or cook something a little larger, you get a bigger can, just like anything else. And so it's always got to be bigger. And so this one is based on the same thing. Both of these cans have holes drilled in the bottom around the edge, about 1 inch apart. They're 1/4 inch holes. All they do is serve to allow airflow through the bottom of the can so it can go out the top. On this can, I did put holes in the top because we do put a cover on there to do the baking, so we have to have an airflow to keep it burning. But this one I cut the screen different. I don't know if you can see that very well, but the screen is cut kind of like a, oh, I don't know if you can see it. How does that show up? Okay or not? Because this part is straight, this part is straight, this part is round, kind of shaped like the can.
We can see it pretty good, Adrian.
Huh?
Yeah, we can see that design. So
okay, and then when you put it in the can, you want when you put it in the can, you want to see that flat part. That's the bottom, and then we have these ears out here. These ears out here, and so they sit on top of the can, and they hold the bottom of what I call the grill off, you know, at a certain depth, about this far down, probably about this far down. And so guess what? That's room enough to cook a muffin or a biscuit or a bun. And the other night I cooked the bun out here and I brought it in the house and I set it on the counter, and when I come back, it was gone. My kid ate it. And so it must have been all right. But in this one, I prefer to use 3 coals. And the only difference when I set this up is I put the three cotton swabs down in there, and then I put the 3 coals in. So I put the cotton swabs, of course, and then put the 3 coals in like this. And then I take the Q-tip like this and light it down in there, and it lights right up. And this, I let it burn until the coals start, and then I put the container on there, and I don't know where my cover is, but I don't know what happened to it. I have a cover, but it's a metal cover, and I put it on there like that, and then it bakes like an oven. And so if you don't believe me, here's a biscuit I just did about an hour ago. That's the bottom, this is the bottom, and this is the top. And here's what it looks like inside. So I think, you know, it's not doughy or anything. It's done perfectly, just like you baked it in an oven. So it's kind of fun to do that for kids, and if it gives them something to do if you're out fishing or doing something that, you know, they need a little bit of entertainment. And now, if you're a person that always likes to go bigger, here's the bigger version. So this is like a 6-pound can, and this one has the same thing in it. Has a grill like this, and this you can actually cook hamburgers on, or a burger. That's about the size of a big burger. And so sometimes out hunting we do that. We set them up and we'll cook a burger at a time, and it's mostly just if you're by yourself, but it does work really good. I put at least 4 coals in here, but again, you could use this if you wanted to as a coal starter. Put the Vaseline cotton balls in the bottom and put the coal in there however much you want, and then start it, and it'll kick right up, and it'll light those coals right up, and you can just dump it over. So the safety with this is what? Don't dump it over. And these cans get very hot, and so you have to tell your kids to be careful not to pick up the cans when the coals are in it, because they're very hot. And the other good part of this is when you're done, if you want, you can dump water in them and it will knock the coals right up pretty good. So okay. All right, so the last slide I have. Okay, so some fun things to do with the portable stove and oven is always to experiment the number of holes or the size of holes. And actually you can monitor your cooking temperature if you want by putting a cooking thermometer in there. Make sure you use the cotton balls with petroleum jelly if you want a quick heat source like to fry an egg in a short period of time on the smaller oven. And then again, I'm going to say please probably you want to not use a petroleum jelly that has a scent put into it. You want just the plain petroleum jelly. I do spray the aluminum foil or anything I use to cook with. I do spray that with I would say with cooking oil or Pam. I like to spray stuff because it's easier to carry. It's lighter, and it's contained within the can. You don't have to worry about it going bad or anything. And I like the big oven, the bigger oven. The medium one I actually do use a fair amount, and I always use 3 coals in there. And I've tested this down to about 30 degrees, I would say, and it cooks the buns within about, you got to cook them for about 14 minutes, 15 minutes, and then turn them over for about 4 to 5, and they'll be brown on both sides, nice. With your hamburger and stuff like that, same thing. You got to cook it for about 15 minutes, flip it over, and finish it, and it finishes really quick, and it's all pretty good. When you're done, I always take these screens, I flip them in upside down into the can so they're self-contained, and I can put a lid on it and get as much things in that can as I can, so it again is easiest to carry. And then when you get home, these cans will have a residue in the bottom, and it's actually from burning the cotton balls and the petroleum jelly, and you'll have to clean them out, you know, occasionally to keep them clean, and so they don't, you know, you just want them clean so you don't have a bunch of stuff in the bottom that burns all the time. Let's see.
Adrian, there's a question in the chat box that says, Janet asks, any specific grading size on the screen that works better?
Well, it's just a steel window screen. They look to be 1/8 inch squares. I don't know if you would call it hardware cloth. I think what it is I just went in the store and asked for window screen, and that's what I got. So.
Okay, thank you.
Just a
Are there
second
any
here.
other questions for Adrian? Okay, you're on to any final comments there, Adrian, or the next step.
Well, I guess I really can't think of anything.
Okay. Anybody have a question for Adrian? Otherwise, we're kind of right back on schedule here. This is a good time before we migrate into the next one. Why don't we give everybody just a minute to stand up and stretch if you need to. Our next presenter will be Lindsay Laker, as she'll be doing some showing you and working with some creative STEM activities for that. But as you stretch, we get transitioned. An opportunity to ask anyone a question, but I certainly ask Adrian if he's got if you need more or looking for more information on the items that he just showed.
Anybody want a biscuit?
Can you throw it all the way to Fargo?
I can eat it for you and tell you what it tastes like.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Adrian. Appreciate your time and your ideas there. And like I said, I'm not seeing any other questions. If they come, Caroline Holman says this would be a great communication arts demo as well. So certainly, and actually, most of these kinds of activities you're making would translate into a good communication arts demonstration at your club or a community event for that. So thank you, Adrian. Appreciate it very much. And again, if there is a comment, we put them in the box. We can come back to that later. We'll pause just a minute while Mickey Mickey and Lindsay get set up to go with session number 2. Adrian, are you still screen sharing at all? No. Oh, it shouldn't be. Okay. So Lindsay, I think it's yours. You'll grab the center here as soon as you speak or begin to share.
All right, I am ready to go. Mickey, do you want me to spotlight my video or do you want to do it? I'll do it for now because I'm going to screen share. My name is Lindsay Leaker. I am the 4-H STEM specialist in Fargo at NDSU, and I also have camp programming responsibilities like I mentioned at the beginning. So tonight I have a presentation, but I'm actually going to use the presentation as more of a resource because I would rather spend time on some of the things that we already have ready to go and try and do them as a group. So I'm going to show my PowerPoint and talk about some highlights, but this is more of a resource for you for things that we have done. And then I also have some resources within the PowerPoint that you could use if you would want to do something in your own county or with your own youth. So I'll start by sharing that, and then we're actually going to do a breakout room, or a breakout game. So I have a PowerPoint here. Let me see if I can get it up. I only have one screen tonight. I actually prefer just one screen, so I know exactly what's shared. So it just takes me a little bit longer to get things to where I need to be. And I'm assuming you can see my PowerPoint. Let me try and put it in presentation mode for you. My Zoom windows are kind of making it a little bit difficult. There we go. Okay. So my presentation was actually on STEAM and certain things that you can do virtually, but also in person. So I'm going to try and highlight how this could be done in person as well, because I know some of you probably have the opportunity to meet in person. So this is a presentation that I've given quite a few times that I just kind of pared down for the purposes of our meeting tonight. And I just start with a little definition of what STEAM is versus STEM. I really love STEAM because it incorporates art. And before I was a 4-H specialist, I studied neuroscience, and I know that in order to get things to get stored up here, you want to use any means possible. And when you're using art or music or multiple learning techniques, it gets stored a lot better. So sometimes I think art is a great way to do some of these things. So I always incorporate art, and the cool thing about doing things virtually is a lot of times it's really easy to incorporate an art component. So that's why we're talking more about like STEAM than STEM, but my focus is STEM, and then I also always try and incorporate some art into it. This summer we did lots of virtual programming because of COVID. So we had many virtual camps. I'll highlight the crime scene camp because we have some kits that are coming out pretty soon. And then most of these I'm going to let you look through on your own to see if it would be something that you'd be interested in doing in your county. And if you are, you could bring it up to your county extension agent and see if they have resources for it, or also contact me. So we're going to mostly be talking about some crime scene resources to get started. And then we're going to be talking about breakout games and rooms. So this is just a list of resources of things that we did this summer. And then these are some more detailed outlines for the different programs. So we did a lot with the breakout and escape rooms. We did a virtual Rube Goldberg contest, which I'm not going to talk about tonight, but there are things within this PowerPoint that talk about the Rube Goldberg contest that we did online, lots of Zoom camps, and then the STEM kits. So I do have some resources here that you can use within a 4-H club. They are breakout rooms. So most of these are Google Docs. And at the time that I made this PowerPoint, I wasn't a very big expert in Google Docs, but now I feel much more comfortable with Google Docs. And the cool thing about Google Docs is that anyone can have access to a Google Doc and create a breakout room with a Google Doc. So it's really easy to do that and then to share it. So these are just two resources that I put in here because I thought maybe it would be something that you could use within your county. So we have a hen house game. This one's really cool. It was from a colleague of mine in Texas, and she put together a hen house, and you click on different chickens and they talk about the hen house, and you have to break different puzzles and all sorts of things. So that one's there for you to look at and use if you'd like. We're going to do the energy breakout tonight, so I'm not going to talk too much about that right now, but I do have some more on here. So this is the energy breakout that we're going to do. And then there's another resource called Breakout EDU. And with Breakout EDU, you can create games and then share games. And they are free to share, but in order to create games, you need a Breakout EDU account. Most county extension offices have a login, so they have access to Breakout EDU. There's hundreds, almost thousands of games that are already created that you can push out, and they meet educational standards. They're all really good. You can search games, you can find agriculture games. There's not a lot of them, but you can search that. You could search STEM games and all sorts of things according to grade level, according to subject matter, and so on. So I do have some breakout games here. One is on parliamentary procedure, and it was created by our own Maxine Lukash. And it's really fun. You can click on it and you have access to it right there. And there's a couple other games on my resource that I also provided for my talk. So you can look on that as well for some more games. So we'll talk about this in a second. We're actually going to play one. But I also just want to point you to some other resources. These are all things that you could do to create an online breakout game or escape room game. These are resources that have you make like a text message thread. So if you wanted to create a clue and it was like a text, so for this one, for example, I think I have a picture of it here. I have John Doe, and it just says, you know, I have a phone, and this is how you build your own text, just as an example. But you could create a clue and make a fake text message thread and then have this as part of your game. So all of these resources listed right here and under the many, many more are things that you can use to create your own breakout room games. And they're super easy to use and super cool and super fun. So just more resources for you if you would like to create your own. You could also have your 4-Hers create your own. We actually did that for a breakout camp, and the youth created their own game, and I was extremely impressed with how creative they were. I'm not going to go over the Rube Goldberg Challenge. I did keep it in here just so you can look at it in some of the online resources that we used for the Rube Goldberg Challenge. But I really want to get to, and these are some of our Zoom camps, I really want to talk a little bit about these kits before we try a breakout room. So something that you may have heard of within your county are the crime scene kits. So we did some crime scene camps this summer where we purchased kits from NDSU Engineering, and they had all sorts of activities. They had fingerprinting, blood typing, shoe print, bite mark, all sorts of stuff. And they were a huge hit. So we did these as part of an online camp, and we did them together. So we had an older group and a younger group. And I had our camp counselors that we hired to do virtual programming do the camps with the kids. And it was by far our most popular camp. So Mickey, our assistant today, her son did the Crime Scene Junior Camp, and she talked about how much he loved it and how funny the camp was, because I was on the older camp, so I didn't get to see them. But they were just so popular. So we thought, let's make some more resources that we can push out to the counties and make these available to participants across the state. So Holly Halverson and I just ordered lots and lots and lots of supplies for the counties that requested these kits. And these kits are appropriate for 3 participants per kit, and they will be available in many of the counties. So if you are interested in this, please talk to your extension agent. And if they don't have any, we are still ordering. So you could request that they talk to me and get some of these kits. The cool thing is, you don't need internet access. So there's a whole list of instructions that go with each activity. They're self-paced. You could do them as a group, you can do them as a family, you can do them in person, you can do them virtually, however you want. And there's also an online resource. So there's videos that you watch that take you through each activity and these were created by NDSU Engineering, and they're really funny. So I'm assuming they're graduate students that do the videos, and they're like detectives, and they have like crime scenes and all sorts of things. So so if you have the ability to have internet access, you could do it in that way too. So I just wanted to mention those because that's something that we've worked really hard on pushing out recently. And if you're interested, there are probably resources available to you. Okay, so like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time on the PowerPoint because I want to give us 15-20 minutes to try a game. I'm going to show you a couple games that we're working on creating or that we have just created, just so you know that they're coming out. And then we're going to work on a North Dakota energy game. Before I start that, Dean, I know that you are kind of monitoring the chat. Are there any questions?
I am not seeing any questions currently, but I'll keep it on here. So if somebody has one as we, process, I'll make sure that we have them for you.
Okay, thanks, Dean. I see someone that said that they did 3D printing camp. That's one of our most popular camps. We're actually pushing more of those camps out very soon. So watch for those. There'll be weekend and evening camps, but they're self-paced. I'm going to show you. So I was lucky enough to share an intern this fall with my colleague Megan, and she has been working on, I got to find my internet browser here. Hold on. She's been working on a couple games that we thought would be advantageous for 4-Hers. Let me see. I'm having trouble finding my internet. Here we go. Okay, so this is the energy game that we're going to play. So I'm going to kind of skip forward for a couple seconds here. Does everyone see the screen that says introduction to Breakout for Agriculture?
Yes, we see it.
Thumbs up, Dean? Okay, thank you. This was actually a breakout game that we did at volunteer training last fall. And what myself and our intern Grace have done is turn this into a Google Doc. So this will be, I have to go through it and check it a little bit more, but it's pretty much ready to go. And so this is something that you could do in your 4-H club if you're doing a virtual meeting, but you could also do it in person. So you can be in person and look at the clues and work on them together. Just to show you a little bit of what's involved here. There's videos to watch. We have different resources about different, like where does the dollar go for agriculture? So what is it spent on? And then with these resources, your youth, or honestly even adults, can unlock the code. So you just put your answers in here. And then if your answer is right, it will unlock. And then once you get all of the answers correct, you can move on to the new clue. So this is one specific to agriculture. It's one that we've presented at National Ag in the Classroom conference and has been very popular. So I'm really excited to get this in a virtual format. So this will be sent out very soon. So I just wanted to show you this one. And then I'm going to show you one more before we actually try a game. Leanne Scripé and myself have been working with our intern Grace to make an animal biosecurity game. So this one is kind of at the beginning, so don't expect this one like this week or anything, but we're getting close. And this one is going to be a breakout game on animal biosecurity. So another thing that you could do in your 4-H club, you could even do it together. You could send it to families, whatever you want to do. So this is another one that will be coming out fairly soon. It's all put together, but Leanne and I kind of need to look through it a little bit more. Okay, so Dean, I see some comments. Any questions?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions. One, first off, was these resources, will they be posted later?
Yes, so I didn't put them on my resource that Mickey posted because they're not quite ready to go yet. When they are ready to go, they'll be sent out to the extension agents. The agriculture breakout room that I just showed you will likely be sent out early next week. And then your county extension agent will have access to that resource. You can also always email me too. So I believe my email's on the resource, but I'm pretty easy to find if you just Google my name. So.
Great, thank you. And then there's one other question from Caroline. She says, what if you get stuck on a puzzle?
I have the answers, Caroline. So if you are worried about that, I don't necessarily give the answers out right away because I think it's important to go through the game on your own beforehand, just to play it and kind of see what might occur with your youth. But I can certainly send the answers out too. The energy breakout was actually really tough for me, so I helped with this one, but it wasn't my own. So I had to get the answers before I actually did the game with the youth. So yep, I have all the answers. What I'll probably do is put them together in a Word document and have Mickey post them. I'm gonna wait until the games are all ready to go so I can put them on one sheet. I have them ready to go right now for my own knowledge as we're playing the games. So they're pretty much ready to go. Other questions, Dean?
No, that's all I'm seeing right now anyway.
Okay.
But I'll keep watching here and monitor. So.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to do our energy breakout. So David Ripplinger, who is a faculty member within NDS Extension, but also I believe I'm blanking on what it is now. He does a lot with energy. So he contacted me because I am very into like the Breakout EDU, the escape room stuff, and he wanted some help putting together an energy breakout. And we were actually supposed to have an energy camp this summer. But because the camp season was canceled, we put together this game. The one thing I do want to point out, I'm going to put Mickey's actually going to break us into breakout rooms, and I'm going to put the link for this game in the chat so that everyone can load it on their device. David has made this into something that we're using for professional development. So typically it doesn't say like to all A&R specialists. It typically says like to so-and-so middle school student, and it's an email from a teacher. And that's usually what it says, but he changed it at the last minute for a training. So it looks a little bit different right now, but the clues are all the same and the answers are all the same. So kind of just have to disregard this first screen. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put this link in the breakout or in the chat before we get into our breakouts. If possible, I would like you to load it on your screen so that you have it ready. And then after I give you a minute to do that, I'm gonna have Mickey break everyone into breakout rooms, and you're gonna work together to get as far as you can in about 15 minutes. You're not gonna get through the whole game, but we'll see how far we can get, and you'll have a little bit of some experience working on one of these games so that if you do it with your 4-Hers or other youth, you kind of know what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna take you through a couple steps because there are some things that were a little bit confusing to me the first time I did it. So the first thing you're gonna do is kind of read through the email, but then you'll hit start the breakout. And the first problem we had when I did this with youth is we were stuck right here and we didn't know where to go. These pictures, you click on them. So each of these pictures have clues behind them. This is kind of like your main clue page. So you'll come back to this page after solving clues under each of the pictures and put an answer in here. So this is kind of like your big clue page, and then the sub clue pages, as you could call them, are under each picture. So when you get into your groups, you're going to actually click on these different pictures to get the sub clues. Okay. So that's all I'm going to tell you for now. I'm going to go back so that I can get to the main link here, and I'm going to put it in the chat, and then I'm going to give everyone a minute to kind of load it. If you aren't able to put it on your device, you'll still be in a group, so you should still be able to work together a little bit. Okay. We adults seem to have more struggles than the kids. So every time I review a breakout game, I reviewed Maxine Lukash's, and I thought, I don't know if the kids are gonna get this because I am stuck. So Caroline kind of said the same thing, but the kids get it a lot faster than we do. So if you get stuck, don't get discouraged. I'd still try it with your 4-Hers, and if you have the answers, then you can get through it. So okay. So Caroline also says, what if we get stuck on a puzzle? I'm gonna if you get stuck on a puzzle and you just do not know what to do, leave your breakout room. I'm gonna just be hanging out in the main breakout room, and I can give you some clues, okay? So if you totally get stuck and you're like, I have no idea what to do, and none of my other team members do, just leave the breakout and come see me in the main breakout room, okay? So I am going to put the link here, making sure that I have everyone on here. Okay, so does everyone see the link?
Yep, it's visible here.
Okay, so I'm going to give you Mickey, you can start getting the breakout rooms ready. But I just want to give everyone a couple minutes to load it on their screen here.
Say, Lindsay, how many people do you want in each room?
It looks like we have about 50. I'd say 5 to 6 per room is about ideal.
Okay.
And this game takes about 60 minutes total for youth. We only have like 15, so we're just gonna give it a try. So don't get down on yourself if you don't get most of them. But We're just gonna give it a shot and see what it's like. So, okay, Mickey, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and break them out.
Dean, we must be breakout room buddies.
Yeah, we frequently get put in the same one. I'm probably going to jump back just so that I am in the right place when we need to as we switch. But I'll start here anyway. So, hi Jacob. Can you can turn your microphone on so that you can speak to us. If you are able to do that, Jacob. We do not have a microphone. Okay. Are you on a computer or are you on some other kind of device? You are on a computer. Okay. So does the computer have at least an internal microphone? That's something that, and if you don't, we'll make it go. Okay. All right. Well, that's fine. Anyway, I'm Dean and Caroline's here, and Caroline's daughter was here. So I'm not sure how we start or where we go from this point here, but so we need to bring up that website, right? And I did click on that. So if although maybe Caroline, maybe you should bring it up. Do you have it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That way, if I jump back before we're done or whatever, just to make sure that I'm in the right place when when I need to be when I'm subbing here for Rochelle.
So it looks like there's a video on corn production that we're supposed to watch.
Okay. So can you share your screen?
Can I?
I'm not sure. Are you able to?
Oh yeah, I think so. Do you see it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, I forgot to do the audio here.
So Jacob, I'll try and kind of monitor the chat box here too, just so we make sure that what you have. Oh, there we go. I heard your voice, I think. Was that you, Jacob?
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe not.
The corn futures contract began trading at the Chicago Board of Trade in 1877 and is the largest agricultural futures contract in the world. For those who may be interested in trading corn,
Can you see my screen?
From there, it moves by rail from the country elevator.
Sorry, I jumped ahead. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I am seeing your screen and we were hearing it too, so.
Okay.
1,000 feet above sea level, from the arid and semi-dry plains of Russia and North Africa to the subtropical regions of Florida. It is grown in countries with as little as 8 inches of annual rainfall, like Morocco, as well as areas with over 200 inches of rainfall, such as parts of India. Growing season ranges from the very short time frame in Quebec of 5 months to the 9-month season in tropical Colombia. Wild corn is grown in nearly every state of the U.S. Production is concentrated in the central portion of the country, called the Corn Belt. About 95% of the corn grown is dent corn, which is named for the indentation in the corn kernel caused by shrinkage of the starch. It is grown extensively in the Midwest and is traded in both the cash and futures markets. Planting in the Corn Belt begins in the southern states as early as March, in the Corn Belt by late April, and is completed in the northern areas by the end of May. Maximum growth is achieved in the main corn-producing areas by late August, and harvest begins in early October. By mid-November, most of the corn has been harvested. A variety of conveyances come into play when corn is transported from the field at harvest to where it will ultimately be used. It goes from the farm field to the country elevator by truck. From there, it moves by rail from the country elevator to a domestic user. Corn that will be exported outside of the U.S. moves from the country elevator to a river shipping station by truck or rail, depending on distance. Despite corn's popularity on the dinner table, in terms of usage, approximately 47% of the U.S. corn crop is actually used for livestock feed. Another 13% is exported. Human food use accounts for 10%, and approximately 30% of the U.S. crop is used to produce ethanol. Ethanol is considered a low-cost liquid transportation fuel. Dry millers in the U.S. account for more than 50% of the ethanol produced in the world, which is then exported to about 50 countries. Approximately one-third of the byproduct that is generated by the ethanol process becomes animal feed, and most often in the form of distillers' grains, corn gluten feed, and corn gluten meal. Although only 10 to 20% of the U.S. corn production is exported, the U.S. is the world's largest corn exporter. As the global population grows and the consumer demand for meat products alongside it, this will in turn increase the demand for feed grain exports. After livestock feeders, the wet miller is the largest consumer of corn in the U.S., processing it into starches, sugars, syrups, oils, alcohols, and animal feed.
All right.
And I'll just jump in and say, welcome, Lee. We're glad to have you here. I'm not sure what our next step is.
Oh, here we go.
And Lee,
Okay,
if
so
you
we
have
saw
a
the...
Lee, if you have a microphone, feel free to turn it on. Otherwise, we'll communicate through the chat box.
I have it on, but I have no idea what.
Well, it's a learning experience for all of us, I think. So, okay, so Jacob says corn. So, was that for that first response there? 6-letter word, 3-digit number lock. The first line here on this here is corn. Is Jacob's suggestion, and I think I would agree with that. See that?
And I think this is that ethanol?
I think it is, yes.
So our first letter might be
So
E, or one of the letters.
Or let's see, yeah, ethanol. Yeah, if it's ethanol, it would be, this is feed.
Yep.
So that would be, so we'd have E, and this is, what is that one? Any suggestions from Lee or Jacob? Let's see.
Kernel.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
kernel.
kernel.
K-E-R.
Good one.
So that'd be an N. So we got E-E-N. This is fiber.
Grain is next.
Grain. So we've got a G, E-E-N-G. And what's this one?
Scratch.
Stretch. This scratch. Just
scratch.
Scratch. Okay. S-C-R-A. There. T. Okay. And so what do we have? E. What did I say? N.
G.
G and.
I don't think that's scratch, is it?
No.
Well, oh, no, probably not. Let's see. So what might it be if it's not? Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5.
I see the word charts, but I doubt it's that.
Charts. Well, could be. C-H-A-R. Oh, no, it wouldn't be charts. C-H-A-R-T-S. C-H-A-R-T. Well, it could be. So put an R there then. So what do we have?
I don't know how that word makes sense with the video though. But maybe, oh, maybe.
Well, but
I
look
mean,
at
they're all
charts,
showing
you
a
know.
chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so should I try it in order?
Let's so the 3-digit number lock.
Oh, 3-digit.
Yeah, so the
Oh, we
6-letter
need
word is that's that one. Although I don't know what that word is. We starts with 2
maybe
E's.
green.
Pardon?
Green?
Oh, maybe, yes. Oh, still locked.
3-digit number lock. So where would our numbers come from?
That's a good question. I don't know. Any suggestions, Jacob? Where would we get the numbers? Was that something in the video? If it is, I missed it. Or is it something else on here? Something like high and low here, time frame?
Let's try 168. Just
okay, and
so it says on the letter word all caps. If we change the green to all caps.
Okay.
Oh, maybe.
Green. No.
No.
Nope.
Go down to that to the puzzle again. So no. So it can't be ethanol. It can't be.
It's not ethanol?
Well, shouldn't it be this letter that we're looking for? Well, not necessarily.
So there's only 5 circles there. So is the 6th the Y?
Oh, yeah. The greeny, that seems weird. No, so let me add the Y.
So we have E.
This word isn't ethanol because there's not enough letters.
Let's see. The 168 must be right though, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good thing Dean's in this room.
Well, no, I'm stuck. so
how's it going?
Well,
I think we thought that word was ethanol, but
do you want me to tell you what the answer it is? Well, you guys, you have it right, I think. No, energy.
Energy.
So we got.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I gave you a clue there, so you could at least move on a little bit.
Yep. But. Okay. Good.
Okay. Everything else going okay?
Yes, I think so.
Yep. I have one group that did not like this format, so I just want to make sure that you guys are. But I'm gonna hop on to 2 more groups. We're gonna end and come back as a large group in about 3 minutes or so.
3 minutes. Okay, great.
Yep.
I'll make note of that.
Lindsay,
here.
Yep.
Here's a code that will help you on your journey. Like, are we supposed to remember photosynthesis?
Yep. So go back to that main page now. This was kind of the critique of the other group. They didn't like how you had to like go back and forth. But on that main page, photosynthesis is one of the locks. So you'll put that.
How do you get to that main page? Just keep going back?
If you go to next, so go to next down at the bottom there. Okay.
Do I have to hit submit?
Yep, try that. Okay. Oh, go back one. And then, sorry, do it one more time. Sorry, Caroline. Or put in your 168 in energy. I think it's one.
Okay.
And now hit next. Okay, and then hit back. Oh, it's not taking you back. Scroll down a little bit. That's weird. You should be able to get back by the different windows that you have open, but there you go.
Okay.
So now if you put in photosynthesis there, it will. And then you just have to click on the other pictures.
Oh, right here.
Yep. So you don't have a ton of time, but then you'll just go on to the next clue. So I'm going to leave you guys and try and get to one more room here, okay?
And then about another minute or two, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Dean.
Yep.
Now we need a 2-digit lock number. Oh, I see. This is a new one. Okay. So now we would watch.
You'd watch a different one and get the next set of clues. Okay. Is this making sense to you, Jacob? Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing you have to kind of get used to doing these puzzles, probably.
Yeah, and work through it before you give it to the kids, definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So.
Okay. Yeah. So they'll bring us back to the main room in just a short bit. I'll probably jump back in just to make sure that I'm ready in a few seconds here. But
Lee, do you know what we would do with this map?
I think we need to watch. You'd have to watch the video on how ethanol is made probably first, and then. But we probably don't have time for that.
yeah. But it is the kind of thing, if it's throwing enough of these out so everybody can experiment a little bit when you get off and have your own time. I think that'll it certainly can be some good activities once you get to the point where you kind of feel comfortable leading next. I think youth would enjoy these games.
A minute left. I'll probably go over a couple minutes here. But we're just going to do a short debrief, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the feedback I got when I went to the different rooms. One of our people won. We had one group that came back early. We're like, why is no one in this group? And it's because they finished the whole thing. Okay, Carrie said Emma rocked. Good job, Emma. Okay, it looks like we have most of our participants back. So I'm going to open it up for a couple of minutes of questions, but I just want to talk a little bit about the feedback that I got when I went in each room. So some of you finished the game, and some of you were like, I don't like all these screens open, and you know, it's confusing, and I would agree with that. So these Google Doc games, they aren't all the same. So that agriculture game that I showed you goes step by step. So you complete one set of clues, it takes you to the next set of clues. So it's not like this one as far as having one main screen with main clues and then the pictures with the sub clues. It just kind of depends on the creator of the game and how they created the game. The group that was kind of struggling with the multiple screens, I talked a little bit about this in the group, but I did this game for our virtual breakout escape room camp. Granted, all of the kids knew that they had to have a computer, they had to have a device with internet, and we did breakout EDU rooms the whole week, and then this was our last final game, and this was their favorite. And they did really well at it. Like everything that I got stuck on, they knew exactly what to do. So these things are sometimes harder for the adult population, but the kids typically really get into the games. So some of you did awesome and you loved it, and some of you were like, I don't know about these multiple screens, and that's pretty typical. But anyone else have questions or comments about, because we're 1 minute over already, but anyone have comments or questions?
I am not seeing any questions currently in the chat box. Anybody have a question for Lindsay? Here's a question from Holly. Are these games to be timed?
So each game should take, the Google Doc game should take around an hour. They do not have to be timed, and the reason they aren't timed is because you can kind of make it fit your programming. So let's say you have 45 minutes, you give a 45-minute timeline, and then you maybe give more hints if you have to get it within, you know, a certain timeline. So I don't necessarily like to say it's going to take an hour. I know at the start of this one I said it takes about an hour, but for our virtual camp this summer, the kids used about 30 minutes to totally finish it.
So what you're saying is, so the people my age might need an hour and a half.
Right, exactly. Actually, Dean would probably need 20 minutes, but other adults, hour and a half. So
Great. Any more questions for Lindsay? I think there's lots of potential there for some good club activities, or especially if you're having to meet virtually, that certainly would be a something to look at.
I see one more, and it says, are there instructions for the adults? There are instructions. I'll make sure that Mickey, is it a share drive that we have everything on?
No, we're putting it all on the website right now. We're going to be doing it through PDFs on the website for now.
Awesome. So as soon as the agriculture breakout and the biosecurity breakout are released, I'll make sure that there's detailed instructions for all. I just don't want to, I want to put it all in one resource. But there will be instructions. The best idea is to do it on your own before you do it with the kids, just so you can see all the clues, and even if you have the answers, you know what's going to happen. So.
And Mickey, then, is that the same website where the resources for these sessions would be? I mean, is that where it's going to be placed?
Yeah. So short term, that's where all of the stuff from training will be, is posted up on the website, where it lists all the different nights and the activities. Without going into too much detail and confusing people, starting next year, we do plan to move a lot of our files over to a share file system. We haven't exactly landed on which one we're going to use yet, but that's the plan, with like curriculum, resources, all of this stuff. Everything you see that's a PDF on our current website is going to be moved to a file share system next year. So then the idea being, you could go on to that file system and type, breakout room box, and it would pop up all the resources with that in it. So.
But for now, it would be the same site where they would have gotten information from here. So great. Okay.
Just one last comment. So I did put together a resource that's already on there with like the link for the energy breakout and all of those other breakouts that I mentioned. So those are available right now. It's just the ones that we're kind of still refining that will be posted a little bit later. So all those are up right now for you to use if you'd like.
Okay, great. Any final questions for Dr. Leaker? Well, thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Adrian. We've for both of these sessions tonight. We've got just a couple more things to do before we let you go. I hope that you can stick around for that. And as I look at the session here, first off, we want to encourage you to participate again next week if that works, November 19th. So hopefully most of you are signed up for that, or if you're not, I think you still can. So now I'm going to turn over to Sue Kwame. Sue is a colleague here at the Center for 4-H, and she is going to share a little bit about the 4-H Easy online training.
Right. So I think, Mickey, if you can.
Oh, Sue, I think we lost your audio.
Sue, your microphone is, there you go.
Yeah,
thank you.
Now I'm on. Okay, sorry. So Rochelle had asked us to talk about the Easy volunteer training that's going to be available here. There was a group of people from the North Central region that all work with volunteers, and they got together and put together a bunch of different lessons that are real easy and engaging, and they have videos and kinds of things that go with them, and it's just on how to get make your 4-H club be successful. And so there's lots of some of the topics that they have is how to divide up roles between some volunteer members, how to do some polling, maybe what your agenda might look like, some songs and activities for you to use. So there's lots of things, and you can see right on the link here, there's a link at the very bottom of that page that we have there. So just check it out, and it's something that you can do on your own, or you can do it with a group, or you can do it in your county. So it might be something you might want to just think about for the future, so you can increase your skills even more. That's all I got, Dean.
I did drop it in the chat box as well, that link.
Thank you. Dean, are you going to talk about the evaluation? We must have lost him too.
I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute. Yeah, good thing I'm not host all the time, right? So, so yes. So as Sue said, that Mickey did put in the link there for the easy online training. So if you take a look at that and grab that link, and in addition to that, we have an evaluation Qualtrics survey for this session. We'd like you to complete that. You can click on that link. That should be active now, and go right to it after that. Is there going to also be a follow-up with that, Mickey, the evaluation? Will that link be sent out to all participants, or do they need to grab it right now so they don't miss it?
Nope, we'll send it out as well. And also for any PowerPoints that were shared tonight that are going to be made available right away, we do send a follow-up email either tonight or tomorrow morning so they can get some of that information more quickly through their inbox. But yeah, we'll send the link along with that.
Okay, very good, very good. So any final thoughts, questions? Lindsay did put a note in that the energy and ag breakout sessions and tomorrow morning, and have Mickey post those solutions. And the Parley program is also awesome, so she'll put those answers in there as well. We certainly welcome any other comments, questions for our presenters tonight, and I'll just kind of watch for that. But in the meantime, I do want to say thank you to Lindsay and to Adrian for making those presentations, and to Diane for preparing that recorded session, particularly on the teen drivers and that program and the other programs that she's working on. So again, if you'd make note to that, we'll hang on here in case you have some questions for the next few minutes. And otherwise, thank you for joining us tonight. We certainly appreciate your giving up your time to do that. And hopefully you can meet us again here a week from tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Say, Dean?
Yes.
I did also want to mention the masks that we've had questions on, the face masks. Anybody who signed on each night is eligible to get one of these masks. And so if you sign on all 3 nights, we send 3 masks out to your county office for you to collect. So that's just something else that's...
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, because I know there you can see the mask, a picture of Mickey here, she modeled this mask for this infamous, your eyes are so big here on that one.
So a little background, I actually sent this as a silly picture to Holly, just as a joke. And then when it came time to advertise, we realized we didn't have another picture of the mask. So this is what happened. This was the default.
There you go. There you go. So again, thank you, everybody. So you can look forward to receiving one or more masks, depending on how many sessions you participated, and those, again, as Mickey said, would be sent out to the counties. So have a great evening. Hope to see you next week.
Mickey, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I didn't receive an email for tonight's training that I'm aware of.
Did you get
is it the same link every time?
It is. It's the same exact link.
I'll just copy it and put it in my Outlook, because I saw when Sue forwarded it to me, and so I saw when it was sent.
Okay.
So I checked my
inbox.
I did not check my junk mail.
Okay.
I usually never have that happen, but.
So this week it did come out through 4-H Online rather than me directly, so it would have had a different sender, and for that reason it may have gone to your junk mail. Did you get one last week when I sent a reminder?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yep.
So last week when I tried to send the reminder, 2.0's broadcast emails weren't working. So which of course I found out the morning of. So I sent an email to them saying like, hey, can you fix this? And then I sent it through my own email just to get it done. When I checked it this week, it was working. So I sent it through the broadcast. So it might be a different sender, and that could make your inbox maybe send it to junk mail.
Okay. I will check that, but I'm gonna just copy this.
Sandra said, will the notes from last week be available? Did you capture the notes for those things, Mickey?
I have all of the chats are saved for all of these events
okay.
as well as the recording. And so we're going to put them up and make them all available when the last session concludes. So, it'll either be next Friday or immediately that following Monday, just depending on how long it gets to upload.
Great, great. So hopefully that answered your question, Sandra. Yes, great. Thank you. You missed the chasing cows. Yeah, that'll do it.
Nope, it isn't in my junk, so it's just gone.
So were you able to successfully register on 2.0, like on 4-H Online?
Yeah, I mean, I got your email last week.
Well, because that one because I pulled that same list from 2.0. I'm not sure why it didn't go out.
It was just one registration for the whole series, right?
Yep. So when you registered, the one email went out, which had the link in it as well. But I wanted to send a reminder each week just because, like, if you only registered for one of the days, 8 weeks ago, you might not remember. So
Right.
I sent a reminder out. I did send it out this morning rather than yesterday, just because I wasn't working yesterday for Veterans Day. But let's see here.
Okay.
I'll look in the queue and maybe it'll say something happened to yours. I don't know.
And then it was funny because when I was even looking for your email from last week, I couldn't even find it. So I don't know. It's probably deleted it or something.
Oh,
well,
so
not seeing any additional questions here. I'm going to sign off. Thank you, guys. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dean, for helping us with this and being MC tonight along with Sue so that I didn't have to.
See you, Mickey.